And just like that, happy Monday, something to look forward to after a very mundane Monday. I don't know about you, Vaughn, but that's how mine was. I am Chris, I'm the Long Box Punk, and I am just freaking stoked to have a longtime friend of the show, my man Vaughan Fox from Hourglass Comics, here on the show. We're going to be making Long Box Punk history, and you're going to launch your campaign for Murderface, this book right here. You're launching it right like in the next hour or whatever. It's insane. Thanks for sharing that, dude. I like that. It's going to be a cool moment. I'm stoked to talk to you about the book and all of the things all the time. If you don't tune in to my Box Talk Live every Wednesday on Instagram, Vaughn is usually the first person in the chat, and he is the first person sounding off and Mr. Reliable. So I'm stoked to actually like be able to hear your voice and see your face as we talk.
Makes my lunchtime go by.
Thanks so much for tuning in, everybody, and sound off in the comments with reactions and stuff, because I like to work those in as well. See, I'm trying to enhance the viewing experience by adding in all those things that I never ever add in. But let's get into it, dude. So, like, what's your origin story? How did you get into comics? How did you start writing, and how did we end up here with the Kickstarter in 2025?
I first got into comic books. Well, we got into the Marvel cards back in the early '90s when they started doing all the Marvel cards and stuff. I can't remember who it was, Tops or Upper Deck or somebody was doing Marvel cards. And
Yep, everybody
at
was.
school had them, and they had like all the background on the back, like, oh, did you know Professor X was stepbrothers with Juggernaut? Stuff like that we're learning from it. And then so the cards actually got me into the comics. And I remember the first time my mom took me to a comic. Well, I went to comic book stores and I was picking up stuff like Mario and Archie and stuff like that.
Yeah,
It wasn't like comic books, but I was at a Target, and one of the Marvel cards was a character named Sleepwalker. And we were at Target, and they had issue number 3 of Sleepwalker, and then I picked up some issue of Punisher Warzone. And so those were the very first like comic books I got. And then from there it was just on. I collected the entire run of Sleepwalker. He was my homeboy.
that's awesome.
And then Image came out in the '90s, which is part of everybody's origin story.
Yep.
And huge fan of Image, and then it just went from there. And started writing in high school. I wrote right out of high school. It was right before my daughter was born, and so it had been like '05. I wrote a 6-issue comic series called Hyper 5. It was a superhero comic, and didn't do anything with it. It's still on my hard drive. And then we started. I decided I was going to do horror movies, so we started writing horror movies, and I started working with people in Dallas on independent film and stuff, just wherever I could help out, and that's where I met Greg Pauly on the film set of the short Murderface. It was I think it was a 48-hour film festival he was doing for college.
Nice. I remember those.
And so I came and ran sound on it, and I was just like, wow, this character is really interesting. It's just a dude running around with a baseball bat with a saw blade stuck in it, and people were telling campfire stories. You didn't really know what part of the story was Murderface and what part of it was true, and it was just really interesting. And so I went home and wrote a 90-page story in about 3 months.
Yeah, super casually, yeah.
And sent it to him, and of which he completely ignored and was like, "No, I'm good." And then like 2 hours later, he's like, "Dude, I just got around to reading Murderface. It's amazing." And we started working on it for about 2 or 3 years, and tried to get funding for it, and worked on getting the script out there to people and stuff. And obviously, it fell through, and so we decided to try comics. And so that's where we are now, is working on a comic. Greg has graciously let me just do whatever I want with the comic version of it, and
that's
trying
awesome.
to stay true to his vision of Murderface and what we wanted for the original movie, while creating a completely new story.
That's cool. And it's quite the story, if I do say so myself. Appreciate Raphael popping in here.
Hell yeah.
Sounding off like the horror fam, dude. Like, it's real. We were talking before we went live with the about that slasher app, and like I don't use it daily, but one of the things that I think is really cool is just like it's a bunch of horror fans talking about horror stuff. And some of them are like regular life updates because we all have regular life updates, but it's definitely like a very communal thing. And I love the community aspect too of indie comics where it's like, hey, I've got a book, you've got a book, like it's horror stuff and you're into horror. Let's talk, let's chat. Like I want to support it. I want to read it. I just like it's just the coolest thing. And
I
I love it.
I met Daniel Grimm at Grimcore Comics on Slasher,
Oh yeah,
and yeah, so it's like kind of like, and that's how I found you was through him, and so from a 6 degrees of Kevin Bacon way, we both came from Slasher,
that's
and
awesome.
Raphael with his Kamazatsu Comics, I was he's the first person like in independent comics that I've actually met in person. Like he was doing a show in Dallas, and
Oh,
I went out and
nice.
saw him there. Got all 1 million of my Kamazatsu covers autographed by him in person.
Perfect. Dude, that's the like so many people that I talk to are based in Texas, based out on the West Coast in California, or like back northeast in like Massachusetts, New York, Vermont area. And I'm like, how am I ever going to meet any of the, or Canada? Like I've had so many people from Canada on the show, which is great because almost every time I'm like, okay, so we got to talk hockey because I'm in the Midwest and no one likes hockey here. Um, but like I want to get to a con that I can meet people that have been on the show or that watch the show or whatever. Like I want to meet you people in person. So I'm jealous that you got to meet Raphael.
Well, you're gonna have to throw Punk Con.
I'm listen, I
Well,
it's
I'll show up. All the post punks.
it's a thing that I have definitely thought about. And it's just like it feels like a huge undertaking, and I'm not ready for that yet, but let me like get the career thing settled, and then for sure I can put more effort into putting together a thing that I won't make any money on. And the main thing here though is like I got to convince the wife that I can do that because it's going to take time and money, and we don't have either really. So but I would love to. Like, and there's the Indie Comic Con, just to pump somebody else's thing in March in like right outside of Boston. It's like 30 minutes north of Boston, and it's all indie comic creators. And like I have had several people asking about like if I'm gonna make it, and I can't. Like it's a
Yeah.
17-hour drive, and we just did
Ooh.
Disney, and like I don't have any money for gas and for a hotel
Yeah.
and all that stuff. But that would be perfect. Like that's what I want to do. So anyway, enough about me and pie in the sky ideas. Let's get back to what Steve is reminding me of and the launch. So we've got Murderface.
It's my brother.
So I figured with the last name there was some sort of relation there. Um, so tell everybody that doesn't know, let's hear a little bit about this guy, about Murderface, and why he's just the coolest. He's got the cool, like a saw blade on a baseball bat. It's just gnarly. So there's the standee. Dude, that
Yeah,
looks so
these are
good.
going to be available on the Kickstarter. Actually, the first 25 people that back will get the 3-inch ones, and then we have the 6-inch ones for as
Oh,
an add-on.
nice. That's awesome.
But Murderface is a character who. So in the comic book, we have a character named Lynn, and Lynn is bullied in school and made fun of, and kind of as for a catharsis, he draws this comic book where this character Murderface takes care of his bullies for him, and so throughout the course of the book, Murderface shows up and begins taking care of his bullies for him, and in the same manner in which they were taken care of in the comic. So it begins this whole like, is this real? Is Murderface a supernatural being? Is it somebody dressed up like him? Is it Lynn, dressing up as him?
Yeah.
And so that's the premise of the comic. And this is the first issue out of 4. And the idea when we were first creating, well, when Greg and I were first talking about Murderface, like my whole thing was just bonkers off the wall, like death scenes. Like what is the weirdest, goriest, things that we can make happen.
Yeah.
And so Murderface the movie, which is a completely different story, it's about people making a Murderface movie, whereas this is a comic book about Murderface.
Yeah.
So Murderface the movie, we just wrote some off the wall death scenes, and I feel like this first issue is kind of tame compared to what I have coming down the pipeline, because there is some horrendous deaths on the horizon for the Murderface comic.
That's great. And now, do we need to call like any psychiatrists for you to like? Do you need to talk through anything?
I'm on my meds. Pink.
Yeah, for the most part, right?
I think my wife's been putting them in peanut butter for me.
That's so nice of her. Anything to get it done, right? So I know we could talk about it, but you have this handy dandy video that you sent me. And why don't we you want to play that? We can play this and then see what happens from there.
Let's play it.
All right. This is a first of its kind, so hopefully this is the right thing.
Baby, I heard something outside.
I don't hear anything.
Can you check it out?
All right. Bro.
Baby, what is it?
Mr. Wall, am I boring you? I'm sorry, sir. Shut up! This is becoming a problem.
Everyone shut up. The show is starting.
What's up, crew? Quick message from our sponsor before we hit it.
There is someone behind him.
Take him down. There is somebody behind you.
Dude, so sick. How did you get the comic like animated for that trailer?
It's a company I found, and also we're live now. I just launched the Kickstarter.
Woo-hoo!
As it said, Kickstarter is live. The Kickstarter is live.
As it should be. So let me. Oh yeah. All right. So now I got to show that too, because you know what's a launch without. Stop that. Let's show it off, shall we? This is the beauty of live. Is like, it's a first of its kind. We're making history. So here we have. Yeah. Here's the page. So I assume this would play the trailer for anybody that comes to
Correct.
the page on their own. Man, I can't believe it. No one's pledged yet. It's like you just launched it or
I
something.
feel like a failure. I got rocks.
Here it is. We got a live campaign page. It's got a preview. It's got the synopsis of the story. And I love that in the book it starts with the football is fantastic, by the way. Football. Like we all knew that guy. But I love that it starts with Lynn's comic. And then reading it, I was like, oh, cool. It's going to be black and white. That's awesome. And then I was like, wait, what? And then we get ripped back into the real world. And now we're in Lynn's classroom and we realize that was a fan comic, or the comic that he was making with Murderface.
Yeah, and that page where the teacher's ripping through the page.
Yeah.
It's totally, when I sent it to the artist, it was just supposed to be him ripping the page in half. And they drew him like tearing himself through the page. And I was like, this is too perfect.
That's awesome.
Like, we're leaving it like this.
Yeah, absolutely. It really does like come out super good. So you've got 24 pages. Other than Lynn's comic, it like the beginning part there that's in black and white, it's full color. Super good quality. Like the Comics Wellspring, shout out to to my friends over there, like they print good comics. So
Yeah, I was really happy with the way the print previews came out.
yeah, it's here. We've got the team again, writer, letterer, the man Vaughan Fox here. Got Julian Gonzalez on pencils and inks, Wilson Gomez on colors. How did you get in touch with Julian and Wilson? Like, how did that partnership come up?
So on the next one, it says art director is Ed. I'm gonna butcher his name.
Espicia?
And Red Potion Studios.
Yeah.
I found Ed on Reddit, and he has his collective that he uses called Red Potion Studios,
Okay.
and they handled all of Murderface. They handled. I have another comic on my website. It's hourglasscomics.com. It's Zara and Jean. They hired that one, and then I have another comic on my Patreon, which is adult only, and they handle that one. So
That's
they
awesome.
literally handle all of my comics for me, and I go to Ed and say, hey, this is what I need, and Ed makes it happen.
Dude, that's like from that standpoint, that's so rad that he's got like the collective of people. Is it the same artists and colors that work with you every time, or is it just like he goes to the pool based on what you're pitching and finds the right artist?
So, and I don't remember Mauricio's name, but Mauricio handles all of his Zara and Jean stuff. He does pencils, inks, colors, and then a woman named Anna does the art for the adult comic.
Okay.
And then Wilson and Julian handle Murderface. But like, if I need like a pinup or something for the Patreon, I would just go to him and be like, hey, why don't you have Anna draw Zara and Jean this time to see how she does on that, or have Mauricio draw Murderface this time to see how he would handle that.
Yeah, that's awesome. I love this action figure variant. Are there gonna be action figures?
My daughter made that out of a Scarlet Witch.
Dude, what?
Out of a zombie Scarlet Witch, she made that.
That's awesome.
And, we chose it. We found it out of box at a toy store, and we chose it because it had the ripped jacket.
Yeah.
And we were just like, and she's like, I can do it. And so she actually made a mold of her face, and then molded the mask around her face, and then she built up the chest and stuff to make it look, less breastish.
Yeah.
And then she completely made a little bat saw for him.
That's awesome.
And that artist right there is Julian Reborn. And I literally met him like maybe 4 or 5 days ago.
Oh, wow.
And I was like, hey, I'm looking for something that can work for a fake toy box for a cover. And I sent him it was a Wolverine cover that they did the same kind of thing where Wolverine was an action figure. And then 4 or 5 days later, he sent me that whole thing. I didn't even have to do anything to it.
That's
he put all
awesome.
the logos and labels on it, everything. So yeah, it was really good.
That's crazy. So all physical backers get a bookmark, which is super rad. Double-sided for extra awesomeness. I love that. And it's super fitting. Like if this was my book, and it seems like you kind of have, I would be putting that bat with the saw blade everywhere I possibly could, because it's such a cool, it's such a striking weapon.
Yeah, no, I love it. And like I said, that was Greg's brain baby, and kind of what made Murderface.
Yeah,
was the blade, because when he first designed him, he had a kind of like a mechanic suit or whatever, kind of like Michael Myers wears. I'm not really sure what you'd call that.
Oh, like a jumpsuit thing. Yeah.
Yeah, he wore a jumpsuit, and so when I first worked on the set, I was like, this guy is kind of cool. Like, he's got a mask like Jason. He's got a saw like Texas Chainsaw Massacre. He's got a jumpsuit like Michael, and he's kind of worked around the shadows and stuff. It's kind of like an entity, kind of like Freddy Krueger. So I felt like he was just this embodiment of all 4 of your big, huge names and slashers.
Yeah. Did you? I know you mentioned it. Did you get the red foil cover worked out with the Bloody Good Time cover C?
I have it on here, and I will get it figured
I just haven't
out
gotten
no matter
there
what
yet.
it takes. But
Great.
I haven't heard back from them.
Okay.
I sent them the files of, it's like a couple more down. You'll see it.
Okay. we first got to talk about hit him with the your pun sticker that you came up with.
Oh, the onomatopeals. So I came up with onomatopeals, which are every sound effects that you can find inside the comic. And it's just a sticker sheet. And I figured people can use them for their photo albums or just whatever. And it's something that I plan on doing for every launch I have. Is this one says Murder Face #1.
It's great.
And it was either onomatopeals or boomsticks. And
Oh,
yeah, I know. I went for the highbrow over the Evil Dead.
yeah. I mean, both are appreciated, especially because I have a whole wall of Army of Dead stuff behind me. But onomatopeals, man, I'm a sucker for a good play on words.
But
Here's
yeah,
the
the
standee.
onomatopeals is an add-on.
Yeah, so there's the 6-inch, and you get to pick a cover. I love that all the variants are the same price. Because there are some campaigns that I've seen that's like they've got the regular book. If the price point was $10, you know, a variant's like 15, the special variant's 20, and even specialer variants 25. And it's like, dude, man, like
Well,
I have my
found out-
preference.
I found out why a lot of people do that with their variants. And it's because they'll get a deal on their art, and then the artist gets a cut of
Yeah,
their covers. And so it's just kind of to help them out get more of a cut of the Kickstarter.
sure. Yeah, there's that sick red spot foil. So only the blood is going to be the foil?
Correct. And I sent that to Comics Wellspring in 2 different layers of just Joseph Howlesco's murder face picture with the blood on a separate layer. And I'll get it done no matter what. That's why
awesome.
I put it on. I feel confident that it'll work.
Flashy, bloody, and super limited. I love it.
Yeah, so there's 20 in that tier. There is 20 in the 5 cover bundle tier.
Okay.
Oh, I didn't change the name on it. That's supposed to be 5 cover bundle because you get the foil cover
the 4 variants and the foil.
Yeah, I'll see if I can change that.
Everything and more.
And then there's 10 in that. So there's only 50 of them going to be made in total of the foil variants.
Okay. You got the Blooder ever increasing sticker pack, which we can go here and I can show you. I can show you some of them. So we've got this guy here.
Double bat saws.
Which again, like just the outline of this sticker is quite striking.
Greg calls that the Mickey Mouse murder face.
I mean, I wasn't gonna say it, but got your hourglass logo. And then my recently discovered after a second reading, and I'm not going to give it away because I want other people to figure out on their own, but Popcorn Cat. And then the logo itself is already on my long box, short box back here. So it's already there, but yeah, ever increasing sticker pack. We've got the 6-inch acrylic standee, which is so freaking cool, man. Like, how did that come to be a thing that you were like, you know what I want to do?
So I saw other people doing it and I just liked the way that it looks. And so I called up my nephew and was like, hey, I want this to be a thing. Can you make this a thing? And the next day he's like, here, I have a bunch of quotes from a bunch of manufacturers.
That's crazy.
Yeah, he totally made it a thing. So shout out to Matt for getting those made for us. And I'm actually, if the whole comic book thing kicks off and the sticker thing kicks off, I want to bring him in as kind of like my merch guy. Because, I mean, he's so much better at talking to people than I am. And,
that's definitely like an under-expected skill of like, I want to make comics. And then people start writing and making comics, but then it's like, yeah, but you got to be able to pitch it and talk to people and find vendors and negotiate prices and all of that stuff comes in the back end on top of all the work that you're putting in to make the book a reality. Like, how have you tackled all of that aspect of everything?
How have I tackled it?
Yeah.
Very slowly.
Methodically, right?
Yeah. Uh, I I haven't tackled a whole lot of it yet. As far as like, I'm terrible at marketing. Like,
Mm.
I think that I started promoting this show like 3 days ago, and we've had it scheduled for the better half of a month.
Yeah, we've been
And
talking
it's like,
about it for like
oh
3
yeah,
months.
by the way, here's where I'm going to launch at, and you can find everything. And but uh, but yeah, so it's been slow. I'm getting better at it. Like, this is my very first podcast I've ever done. So as far as like talking to someone and being interviewed and stuff like that, it's all new to me.
Yeah.
But it's been great so far. We've been at it for what, 26 minutes? It's been an awesome 26 minutes.
Yeah, man. We're just kicking back. It's basically as if I was doing a box talk. People can just see your face now.
Yeah.
So tell me about like what's the ever increasing, so the bonus stuff. How does this chart
So
work with the
we
counts
have
and stuff?
backers on Kickstarter, which at 30 backers, 60 backers, and 120 backers will unlock more stickers for the ever increasing sticker bag. Comments on Kickstarter at 25, 50, and 100 will unlock more. Thank you, Gemma. My brother's girlfriend. She's awesome. Trailer views.
Oh,
I
so
don't
for
know.
every like benchmark, you're unlocking more stickers.
Yes.
That's
Until
awesome.
we get all, I think, there's 12 or 13 stickers. I don't
Let's
even
see.
know.
3 by 4 is 12. Yeah. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. Yep. On
So
top
yeah,
of the popcorn cat and the logo and yeah, that's awesome. That's a fun incentive.
I was trying to think of something that we could use to get people more into the Kickstarter. You know, like something that would. Whenever I got into backing stuff on Kickstarter through board games,
Okay.
and so like behind me, I have like every single Marvel United thing ever, and
There's
it's
so
actually on this
many.
shelf over here. Yeah, and one of the best things about doing those Kickstarters is just watching the amount of stuff you get grow. And that's something I wanted to try to emulate is have something that people, it's a much lower scale, but just something that people can watch grow as the campaign goes.
Yeah. So we'll get back to the page because there's one last thing about a crossover here. But first, Kenny's got a good question. So can you re-explain the connection between the Murder Face film, or the short film that you did in the 48-hour film festival, and this comic? Like, how are they related? Not related? What came first?
So they are not related story-wise, and they were both intentionally written to be a jumping off point for Murderface. So let's say we somewhere down the line we get the movie made. The movie can be a jumping off point for Murderface. You're like, oh, this is good. I want more Murderface. Then you can go read the comic. But if you start with the comic, which we are, and hopefully everybody does, then the comic can be a good jumping off point for Murderface, and then you watch the movie and it's just more Murderface. And but either one can be watched first or read first.
That's cool.
So they were both intentionally written to be jumping off points. Whereas, like, I have ideas for like a second Murderface comic, and we have ideas for 3, 4, 5 Murderface movies, and all of those will be almost a direct sequel to the other ones.
Cool. So it's like same character of Murderface, but like just any stories can go any direction.
Correct.
That's awesome.
Yeah,
and I love the tie-in too.
So we have this Bloodgate universe going where I think we have 5 other movies written besides Murderface, 4 Bloodgate films.
Okay.
And it's sort of like our MCU. We want it to be like our MCU where all the movies are kind of connected. But Murderface is their entertainment in that world. It's kind of like the Itchy and Scratchy, where like you'll see people watching like Murderface or wearing Murderface T-shirts or posters. Like he as a character doesn't exist in that world, but the property and the license does.
That's cool.
And it was kind of one of those things where, like, well, if we're going to be making Murderface merchandise, we might as well put it in our movies to save on buying other things or licenses and stuff.
Yeah.
And so we actually, way down the line in our movies, we had the idea of this guy who emulates Murderface. And so he acts like Murderface, but he's not Murderface. He's just some guy that kills people with a bat saw.
With the bat saw. Is that the official name of that weapon? Is a bat saw?
Yes.
Great.
I once called it a saw bat, and Greg corrected me. He said it's a bat saw because it's more bat than saw.
Makes sense. Makes sense. I agree with Greg here.
Greg.
He says not only does Murderface rule, but also Hourglass Comics is his favorite. You got a big fan here. And Bloodgate Films.
Yeah. That is his name is Greg also. He's not the Greg that works on the comic with me, but his name is Greg also. He's a security guard at work, and he is always wanting to hear stories.
That's awesome.
And he's all over everything I'm putting down. Love that
Nice.
guy.
Dude, it's so good to have supportive friends and like coworkers and all the things. That's great.
Yeah.
All right. So the last thing that I want to make sure that we hit to on the campaign page here is this super cool crossover, which looks hella dope, by the way. So you've got another comic, the Zara and Jean Occult Investigations. So what's that story about? And then how does this tie in crossover print happen? How does happen?
Well, Zara and Jean is about, they're occult investigators. She's a 900-plus-year-old demon, and he's a dude that was just looking for a job. And he thought it was like a ghost hunter type situation, like the TV show, and wandered into becoming an assistant to a demon that's an occult investigator. And them meeting Murderface doesn't happen in the comic. I just thought it would be really fun to do something special for my Patreon backers who also back me on Kickstarter. So any Patreon backers that back to Kickstarter will get this print, which is done by Mauricio, who does the Zara and Jean comic, and this is his first and so far only take on Murderface.
Oh, cool. That's awesome. Now, how long have you been doing Zara and Jean?
I launched the Patreon on April 1st of last year, so we're coming up on 1 year.
Okay.
And the entire comic is free on my website, and then on my Patreon, I release the high quality like PNG files on websites like JPEGs.
Yeah. For
faster loading. And the Patreon has PNGs. I cut the pages up so you can read them panel by panel as best I can.
Yeah.
To make it easier reading on mobile. I have the pencils, the inks, sometimes the flats if I get them. And so throughout the week, I'll post all of the page elements up to the final page. And that just finished on the Patreon, and that's 26 pages. So.
Oh, cool.
So that entire comic is there.
Now, do you have plans of taking that and then putting that into print at some point? Or are you just like, I like doing this way for the Patreon and the website?
Yes, I do plan on printing it. It's actually going to be my next Kickstarter. I'm not sure how far down the line. It just depends on how Murderface goes. And
sure.
And but yeah, I told my artist, I was like, we're on hiatus until I can start making some money back on these, because they've done 3 complete comics for me, and I'm like, okay, we need to start trying to monetize this stuff.
Yeah we gotta get some money before we can start spending more money. Well, I'm happy to tell you that in the last 22 minutes since you launched, you've already got 3 backers, which is great. You've got $171 pledged, so those are 3 substantial backers, which is super dope. So I'm gonna back now so that I'm in on that first 25, and of course I gotta get in. See, I love that it's February, because that means my Kickstarter budget resets. So
is that on a monthly?
That's on a monthly, yeah. Yeah, it sure is. And so we've got great. I'm really bad at multitasking. But I'm getting in on that foil cover because it's sick. Continue. It's so easy. See, if you've never done Kickstarter before, in just what, a minute, I have now joined the backers. You're over $200 pledged.
Thank you, sir. Thank you, sir.
Oh, your mic is doing something weird. I don't know. Yeah, you sound like a robot.
Hold on a second. Let's see if I can get it on.
This is the beauty of doing live. So
How is that?
oh yeah. So did you just like change your inputs?
Yeah, we're gonna trash this.
Onto the floor it goes.
Yeah, no. So this is just my my Mac now.
There you go. Hey, they got great built-in microphones. There's nothing wrong with them. I've done plenty of meetings. My last job, everybody, like, part of the onboarding process was getting set up with a MacBook, which was insane. And so we used to do meetings all the time, and everybody would just have their Macs open, and that's just it. No need to have all this extra equipment and stuff when you got a Mac. But I'm extra and I can't just do simple things. So
I wasn't sure how it would sound. So
yeah,
I snagged my daughter's mic for her streaming.
there you go. Yeah. It's great though that you've got such a creative family, like with you said it was your nephew that hooked up with the standees.
Yes, my nephew reached out to the manufacturers and stuff and got us going on that.
That's cool. Is that something like, how did you know to go to him with that idea?
It just seemed like something he would be good at. Like, this sounds dumb, but I think he's done like drop shipping and stuff in the past. And so it felt like he would know how to talk to people about getting merchandise.
Yeah. That's awesome. And it totally worked because you sent me those pictures of the prototypes that you had and they look great.
Yeah, I have, these are completed now. I have a box of 100 of them.
That's awesome. So, all right. So we've got the story. You're officially launched. You've already got some backers in the queue for you. So because it just launched, it is a 30-day campaign, which means people have until March 5th to get in and back and support the campaign. So you've got plenty of time. We've got a handful of folks that are also saying, like, I want to hang out with the show. I don't want to back it right now, which is totally fine, Gemma and Greg. Totally fine. This is just the, like, let's just show off and talk about the thing. So in the book, there is a panel where we see Lynn sitting at his desk and he's making his comic and he's got horror posters behind him. Were those posters intentionally chosen, or were you just like, he should have horror movie posters behind him?
I told him that I can't remember what the exact description was in the comic, but it was just that he has horror movie stuff. And so that was totally the artist. I'm assuming Julian came up with all those posters, because if you look, they're all like just slightly not what the posters are.
Yeah, it's so smart to like it's like people taking movie clips and reversing, like flipping the ratio and then being able to post that. And it's like, it's not the same thing.
Yeah.
That's how you avoid that. Not that I haven't done that, but I've seen plenty of other people do that. So please keep me live, YouTube. Don't ban me. But like, yeah, so there's a poster for The Thing, The Exorcist, Nightmare on Elm Street, Halloween, like the big hitters from the 80s. And when you think about horror films, like, is that your like go-to comfort horror movie era?
My go-to comfort horror movies are schlock. My daughter and I have we've got on a tangent of like killer item horror movies, like, oh, killer sofa, killer donut, killer tire.
Yeah.
My go-to is Hatchet.
Dude, I love Hatchet. I'm
I've
so
got-
happy you just said that.
I actually have. So I got this on eBay. I don't know if you know the story of the last Hatchet movie, on how they were going to do like their 10-year anniversary for Hatchet, or 30 years, something like that, for Hatchet. I don't know how long it's been out. And so they invited all the fans out to a showing, and then they actually premiered the 4th movie that no one knew they were making.
That's awesome.
And so I got to see if I can get this opened. They gave these out to attendees of that, and I bought one off eBay, and I haven't seen another one since.
Is it of Victor Crowd? Oh, dude, that's rad.
So in the movie, they're selling these as like merchandise. They're like, oh, come get the killer of Honey Whatever Swamp. I can't remember what it's called.
Yeah.
But anyway, I found one on eBay, and I snagged it right away. I was like, that's cool. It's got Sarah. I'm gonna butcher her name. I don't remember what it is, but she signed every single one of them. She's the producer on all the Hatchet movies, and she's the one that made these.
That's awesome.
And yeah, like I said, I was just like, that is so amazing and dumb looking. I hate the way it looks. It's stupid, but it's lovably stupid.
Right. There's a very fine line between like it's so dumb it's good, and it's so dumb it's just dumb.
That's my wheelhouse. That's where I live. I have a whole bunch of like movies that I never intended on making. I always came up with dumb premises, and I was like, can I make this work?
Yeah.
Like one of them was Dandelier, like a killer chandelier. And I was just like, okay, that's stupid. Can I make it work?
Yeah.
And so I would end up like writing like this whole movie out, like that actually could work. But
So are you still actively like working on writing movie scripts and stuff too for eventual production? Or are you like, we tried that and it just kind of, so comics?
we're hoping that we can take like the trailer that we premiered here, and then like hopefully we sell a decent amount of comics, that we can take that with us now to pitch, because we still want to make a Murderface movie. We still want to make that happen. And this whole thing was kind of to get our name out, to get something out there that we can show them, like, look, people want this. You know, like we possibly had like $1 million deal on the table at one time. According to our producer, I was not privy to that talk, but
Sure.
then you're like, well, first time writer, first time director, you know, we can't put that kind of money into that. So I'm hoping we can go back and be like, now look,
Yeah.
you know, now you can see what the story's like. You know, you can see it in action with the trailer, which the trailer was done by an Australian company called Kamikaze Trailers.
Okay.
They work mainly off of Facebook, but if you type in Kamikaze Trailers, that's all they do is comic trailers, from what I can tell.
That's awesome.
And the price was awesome, and all I did was I literally sent them the comic with the money and was like, make the thing. And that's what they came back with.
That's that's way more. I've seen some where it's literally like it's just the panel and the camera like pans across the panel. Yes. And so that's when you initially were like, yeah, I had a trailer made, like that's what I was expecting. And then I watched it and I was like, oh, they're like fully animated. This is insane.
Yeah. And so I don't know what his process is, but it took him about a month to knock it out. I know that he took the money that I gave him and then hired people off of Fiverr to do the voice acting.
Ah, dude, Fiverr's great.
Yeah. So I was just like, yeah, Fiverr's where we got the Bloodgate logo from.
Okay.
But yeah, no, I was super impressed. He's just like, well, let me know if you need any changes. I'm like, no, I don't need any changes. Like, what are you talking about? No, I did need one change because it said written and drawn by Lin Huang. I was like, wait a minute, he's a character. He didn't actually draw or write the comic.
Yeah, that's cool. So we've got so Gemma figured out the multitasking, so she's in. Happy to have her on board. Kenny agreeing with the fine line. And I feel like a lot of movies don't, like, you have to understand that there's a fine line to properly step past it and break that fine line, right? Like, you got to know the rule to be able to break the rule. And I feel like some movies cross it without realizing that it's...
Adam Green one time was asked about it for the Hatchet movies. And like, how do you mix the horror with the humor, and how do you keep the two from colliding?
Yeah.
And he was just like, you write humor when you want to be funny, and you write the horror when you want it to be scary. And just make sure that when you're writing stuff that's scary, it's not funny. And when you're writing stuff that's funny, it's not scary.
I mean, it's simple.
Because that was a problem I had with Club Dread. I felt Club Dread was just way too silly to be considered a horror movie, in my opinion.
Yeah.
Like, it just got too far out there for me. And some people feel that way about Hatchet. Some people don't want any funny in their horror movies. They just want straight up, like, Exorcist or
just existential dread from start to finish. The whole... Yeah. So Spinal Tap, I mean, can we turn it to 11? Can we turn the pledge to 11?
Somebody made a Spinal Tap reference about my first sticker sheet. I don't have it. I don't think I have it. No, I gave it to someone at work. My first sticker sheet came out like half this size on accident. So I posted it to Facebook, and somebody posted the Stonehenge from, I think it was my friend Ed, posted the Stonehenge from Spinal Tap.
Oh, I gotta rewatch that. So we've got Greg with the pledge range. So if we go back to the campaign page, we can show you. Get this reset.
I don't understand that question.
So I think I got him. I think I get it here. So hey, 5 backers. If we go to rewards, where's this stinking? There it is. Okay, so when we get to the rewards, so you can, the minimum reward tiers, this $5 digital download, and there's the digital, and then the digital deluxe, which includes the script and art pages and cover gallery, which is 15. So it really varies, Greg, on like what all you want. Physical tiers start at $10, and that's just for the cover of the comic. And then
I want to add that I went ahead and added the digital comic to every single physical tier.
Oh, nice.
So I didn't see any reason why not to just give them the digital comic.
Right. That's how I feel. Like, as a reader, sometimes you want the convenience of having it digital and having it on your phone, or,
Well, the digital comics will go out a lot sooner too, since they're done. And I have to wait for the other ones to get printed. So
yeah. But yeah, so you can, like, the tiers go from $5 standee in a book, because I know he mentioned you wanted the standee. You can do the standee and a cover of your choice for $20, which is like a crazy freaking steal, honestly. And then it goes all the way up to the crazy everything and more, be the ultimate murder face collector and get all the stickers, all the covers, the foil variant, the standee, the digital deluxe, it's all there.
I don't have the art pages on there.
You don't? Oh, well, you've got the add-ons, right? So you have the sticker pack, there's the standee. Yeah,
they're their own tiers. If you actually manage your pledge, you'll see them. I'll get them added. I have I'm actually gonna grab them real quick.
So more to come. And he'll answer which cover is his favorite when he gets back. My personal favorite, not that you asked, but I'm going to tell you, my personal favorite cover is if I wasn't doing the foil, this guy, because like the foil blood splatter is just such a cool idea. If I wasn't doing that, I love this action figure variant, especially knowing that that's a Scarlet Witch figure that was then converted into Murder Face by his daughter. So that's my personal, but Greg wants to know, what's your favorite cover, Vaughn?
My favorite cover is the Weeder Samarantes cover of him in doing the Norman Rockwell self-portrait. Here's the pencils for it. The pencils are $250 on your own tier. I'll get those added later to the main page. And then here is the actual hand-painted cover that he did.
That's awesome.
Which is at a $500 tier. And it's one of a kind, the only one there is. He signed it. And I have video of him hand painting it. Or I'll try to make a video of it to show people. But that's my favorite cover. This is my sister told me. She's like, it kind of reminds me of Grandma, which our grandmother passed away. And my grandmother, every year she got a Norman Rockwell calendar. And so it is kind of an homage to her, but also I just felt like the allegory between the Norman Rockwell doing a self-portrait and then Lynn doing a self-portrait but painting Murderface worked really well.
Yeah, it is a very cool look, and it definitely gives the like that Norman Rockwell vibe because of the almost like sepia tone of all of the things. Because my nana used to have a bunch of those Norman Rockwells and like the calendars, and she would find holiday cards that were Norman Rockwell, and she would always keep one for herself and then send out the rest. And
nice.
So she had a ton of those that all got destroyed when her basement flooded for like the 18th time or whatever. But so it's great that like there's that personal touch with it for you, and like it's just a cool freaking look. Like it really is just and it gives you an idea. I love variant covers that aren't a variant for variant's sake. Like it's telling part of Lynn's story of like there's more to him than just him, right? Like there's the murder face aspect of like, is it him? Is it like a Donnie Darko thing where like he just loses memory and wakes up and he's in the bunny costume? Like is Murderface talking to him? Like I love that it's got all of that implied meaning behind it as well, which is cool. So so there's all of those things. And I think you won over Greg with B being the best made cover. So we talked horror with the schlocky schlock. What's the most recent horror movie that you and your daughter watched?
Oh, wow.
You're not an October only family, are you?
No, we're not.
Right.
Not often.
I was seriously going to call help for you if you were.
We go extra in October, but we watch all year round. And I honestly, I cannot remember. I know the most recent one I remember us watching, I can't even remember the name of it, but it had to do with frogs. The people that sneak into your house.
Oh, there's something in the walls, right? Isn't that what it's called?
Maybe. If there's not more than one.
But yeah, it's about the couple that are living, like they sneak into the people's house and then like live up in their attic and stuff.
That is it.
Yeah.
Yes.
I watched that a couple years ago, and I had no idea that like frogging was a thing. And then when I started looking it up, I was like, oh my god, this is terrifying.
We have critters in our attic sometimes, like raccoons and stuff like that, and so it's always a joke in our house that like, well, they moved in already.
Oh no, I wouldn't be able to handle it, man. I'd be up there with a bat saw, just like, come on, cleaning out my attic. But yeah, no, I liked that movie because of the fact that like people really do that.
Yes.
And that's terrifying. Like I don't have a house big enough for it to have to worry about it. So I'm not actually concerned, but the fact that that's real adds that level of just dread of like, I can't believe people do that.
Yeah.
And so the whole idea of frogging, cause I didn't know, and I didn't think it was a widely understood thing, but like the whole premise is there are people that live in other people's homes while those other people are there. It's not like squatting in a vacation home while the people aren't there. They're actively living in this house. The family is, and they have to, the that are frogging have to like sneak down when everybody's asleep or away at work or whatever, and you like sneak food and figure out the schedule. And there's a whole lot of just like ridiculousness that happens. And then the guy takes it too far and loses his mind and wants to get violent. And she's like, I just want to live here for free, man. And like, she's all hippie peace and love. And he's like psychopath Nazi. And it just, it's a really good, it's an interesting movie. I think it's called something in the walls or in the walls, or it's not frogging. Like it should be, but it's not called that. It's and there's a creepy mask too. Like, it's just all, it's all terrifying. Kind of like frogging politics would be terrifying. I don't like that idea at all.
That does sound like some Caucasian activities.
It certainly does. Yeah. I don't see anybody but stupid white people doing that. So there's a panel that I just want to say, like, I love the panel, and it's when Lynn is talking about being bullied year round, and he's getting dumped in the dumpsters. And the third panel for Earth Day, I'm not going to give it away, but like anybody backing it needs to just keep your antenna up for what I think might be my favorite panel in the entire,
it is mine.
entire book.
It's one of those things like you write it, and then A, you're not sure how it's going to come out.
Yeah.
And then B, you're not sure if anybody's going to get it. But every time you look at it, you get tickled. You're like, ha, I got that one through.
Yeah. And I'm writing a book now and working with an artist that I met actually through the show. And he just like included something in one of the panels, and I was like, dude, we cannot get rid of this. Like, I didn't write it in, he just added it, and I was like, this has to be the shtick. Like, we have to have this gag in every single thing, like every story that we tell, every arc or whatever, like we have to have this gag. And he was like, I love it. And every time I look at it, I laugh all over again. So I love stuff like that in books that are just like more for the creators.
Yeah.
To like keep it fun. Are there, besides that Earth Day panel, are there other things that are worked in or hidden or Easter eggs that are in the book that are like really just for you that you can give us the insight on?
The only other thing I can think of is when you're inside like the bully's lair, it's inside one of his garage. There is a Pudgy's Pizzas box. And when I was 21, so back in 2001, we shot a feature-length comedy, and one of the guys was delivering pizza from Pudgy's Pizza. And so from that point forward, Pudgy's Pizza has just always been like an inside joke that's in everything that I write.
That's awesome. The reoccurring, it's like the Pizza Planet truck in Pixar.
Yes.
That's great.
Sam Raimi's car.
Yeah. Yeah. So I'm such a sucker for that stuff because like the creators have to have fun too. So, I mean, like let the creators have fun. And you can't tell me that people like Quentin Tarantino don't have stuff in his films where it's like, oh yeah, that's just for him. Like that's just for Tarantino. That's not for anybody else. Maybe the cast, like all the Avengers got that super cool tattoo thing for the Avengers 6 because they were the original. And maybe Greg will end up getting some sort of cast tattoo as being the token black guy. Who knows, right?
It won't be for lack of trying. That dude is like, yep, put me in, coach, every day.
Yeah.
I'm like, I'm not even making anything. Put me in, coach.
But when you do.
Yeah. Put me in, coach.
I love it. So one of the things that I noticed reading your About Me was how you were flipping the script on time. And you've got the About Me, like, it's time to do the thing. It's time to make the comics. It's time to take a step and a chance on myself. And that's how you came up with this logo. And I just want to hear, like, I read the story, but like, I want to hear the story from you. Like, how did this with Hourglass Comics be your nomiker, your marker, your logo, your brand? How did that all come to be?
Because I wanted an hourglass and boobies.
Nailed it. All right, next question.
Good night, everybody.
It's been real.
No, hourglass came about was literally just that. Like, I said in 05 I started writing comics, and I wrote my first movie when I was a junior in high school, and that's the movie that we ended up shooting in 01. And I had this idea, I guess, kind of like a midlife crisis, that I was running out of time. Like, I needed to do something. I needed to get something done. And that thing that changed all that was I stopped waiting for other people to make it happen. And it was time for me to take a chance on myself and make things happen. And so, luckily my wife has been behind it 100%, but I was just like, hey, I'm going to take all this money here and move it all over here. So we took it from, financial future to hopes and dreams.
Yeah.
And so that was what it was time for. And so I liked the idea of an hourglass because I felt like it was kind of a supernatural type thing. Like, hourglasses are a lot of times connected to, like, mystery and supernatural and other forces and stuff, which is what I was going for with Zara and Jean. And then also Murderface to an extent. And then I wanted the female's figure in the middle is because I'm doing adult comics also, and that is unfortunately one of the things that people will spend a lot of money on. And so that's something I have in the pipeline. I'm like, man, if I can make this much money with this, then I can just fund everything else I want to do with booby comics. And so that's something that's on my docket, but I don't advertise it a whole lot, and I don't talk about it a whole lot. It's on my Patreon because that's not the aspect of making comics that brings me the most joy. It's just the one that brings me the most money.
Yeah. Isn't that wild? It's freaking like, I was just talking to a buddy that even though I've been doing this show, it'll be a year next month. He just recently was like, hey, I need to like get back into comics. And we used to talk comics and we used to work together way back when. And so I was just like, I FaceTimed him and I was shared my screen and I was walking him through like, hey, so here's Kickstarter. Like, here's what I look for on a campaign. Here are red flags that I look for on a campaign because they're out there. And on the like just base, Kickstarter page, there were a ton of the NSFW covers and like huge boobs. And I'm like, that's not my jam. Like, you know what I mean? Like, I want to read comics that I don't want to have to think about that while I'm reading like, that's just not for me. And that's okay, because looking at the funding goals and the numbers and the over percentages, like, that's a lot of people's jam. And so like post-punk Adriano from Pesto Comics just had Naked Kaiju Woman, and he like, it broke all of his previous Kickstarter records for like numbers of backers, the percentage over the goal, the total amount funded, the total number of new backer, like everything that you could think of. He busted through all of them. And part of me is like, is it because you're saying that it's a naked kaiju? Like, what if it was just like Kaiju Woman?
No,
right?
It's 100% because she's naked.
It's because the word naked. And so like, man, I get it. You got to make money. You got to pay bills. And if you got a dream and you know how to do something that's going to pay the bills in a lump, like, by all means, like, do the thing and get it. And if it's working for you, good on you. Don't expect me in the comments on those, because it's not for me. But like, that's fine. I'll be there for all the murdering and the violence and the gore, and that's my jam.
You're not going to get a Plap Fiction tattoo anytime soon.
No, probably not. But so when we were speaking of tattoos, because I want to talk about it, because I feel like I'm getting closer and closer to actually doing this. So my wife has always talked about getting like the rebel symbol from Star Wars on her wrist, and like, she watched those movies with her dad. Like, it's a very tight connection that way, and a whole bunch of other personal reasons. And so when we were going down, her mom is very against tattoos. Like I'm the first, I married into the family, and I'm the only one in the family with tattoos.
Yeah.
And so I was very much like the, you have tattoo? And so it's fun to like pull the gag on her mom. Like, yeah, we're going to get matching tattoos. And we said that before we left for Florida. And so on the drive down, I was like, wouldn't it be funny? Like if we actually did get Star Wars tattoos? Like if you got your rebel symbol, she was like, yeah, but what would you get? Because I'm admittedly more of a Trekkie than I am a Star Wars person. However, there's the little trash can robot, like the little trash can droid that always seems to get knocked over. And there's one scene where like his feet are kicking and up in the air. I love the trash can.
It's like Gronk or something, isn't it? Gronk.
I think so. Yeah. Like it's a very silly side character.
Yeah.
And I love the idea of the trash can droid because like even in this world of fantastical sci-fi, huge starships and laser guns and all the things, you still have to have a trash can. And like, so it's functional, but they didn't just make it stay like it has its whole storyline of like getting knocked over and it's always in the way. And I just think like I would love to get a trash can droid tattoo and like get it on its head with its little feet kicking with the little like wavy lines showing that it's kicking its feet. Like I just because you have to have the reminder to stay silly. And like that's me all the time. Like I don't take myself too seriously. I have zero shame. I will do really dumb things if someone just says like, hey, do the thing. And my daughter knows that she had no chance of never being like embarrassed or anything because I will stand up in the middle of Longhorn Steakhouse and sing I'm a little teapot if it means that she's going to turn red and if someone's going to laugh. Like I'll do it. I don't care.
Making the steam come out of her ears.
Yeah, right. She looks a nice shade of a rare steak. And like so I mentioned it as just like I'd probably get a trash can droid. And then like the whole week that we were at Disney, I just kept thinking about it. And then when we were at Galaxy's Edge, I like got my picture with the trash can droid and like, I was like, oh, there it is. And I think it's fun. And I keep thinking about it, which tells me like I'm onto something. So I might, now that I've put it out into the open, I think I might end up getting, I just don't know where I would get him. Like that's placement for me really matters. And all of the 3 that I've got are very intentionally placed. So where would I get a upside down trash can droid to
tramp stamp?
Oh, no, sir.
You just see his little legs kicking out of the back of your pants.
No way. I would never do that.
I just got my first tattoo ever.
I saw you post about that.
Yeah, that's my wife's initials.
That's that full on dedication. I mean, you never have to worry about losing your wedding ring again. So,
well, I don't have one, so it was perfect. But yeah, no, I didn't know what to expect. It felt like they were degloving my finger, but it was worth it. It's only while the needle's down. Like as soon as I pick the needle up, it feels fine.
It's done. Yeah. Yeah. And that's like, so my wife, she's going to kill me. She passed out when she got her ears pierced, like as a teenager. She can't handle the needle. And so she's like, she went with me when I got my forearm tattoo. And there's no easy way to show the forearm tattoo. I've learned because whatever. So she went with me. And like, it's my 3rd one. Forearm's not really bad at all. Like it was the easiest one of the 3 that I've had because I have one on my chest and one on my leg. But as it gets to the front of your leg and that shin, there's no muscle. So it sucks. Yeah. And the chest for a man, that's where all of our nerves are. So that sucked. But like my forearm, no big deal. And so she is so hesitant to get one because she's worried she's going to pass out and all the things. And I'm like, babe, it's like a really bad Indian rug burn. You remember being in middle school and people would be like, oh, hold out your arm. And then they grab it and twist their hands back and forth. It's like that.
Yeah.
But like, it doesn't stop until the needle stops inking. And then you're like, oh, okay. Oh, we're going like, and that's how it is. And for me, it was like once I had the one, I was like, I want all of the tattoos. If I won the lottery, I'm not saying I would tell people, but like you would see that I won the lottery because I would have a full sleeve on my left arm. I would finish probably the entire piece on my leg. Like I would just be very covered because I love tattoos.
I thought about a long time ago doing a Muppet tattoo, Muppet sleeve on my arm.
That's awesome.
And I just can't get myself to do it. I'm so like, if it looks weird or looks funny or whatever, I'm gonna kick myself and be like, why did I do that?
Yeah. See, that's a tough thing with like getting the likeness of a character, because if they don't get that likeness just exactly right, suddenly you're like, that's not Gonzo's nose.
Yeah.
Like his curves like 250 degrees of 360, and that's not as far. Perfect.
That's his nose.
Yeah. See, and I knew I liked Greg. He also has one on his foot. Dude, like we can be forearm tap bros. That's what just happened. So
Did we just become friends?
did we just become best friends? The other thing that, so in talking with, back to comics, because we're just hanging out at this point, I think, because we can actually talk. This is great. So the other thing in Murder Face that I really like is you mentioned like think the kills are only going to get more gruesome. You've got a gnarly kill in this one that ends this issue. I'm not going to say who or how, but dude, I feel a little attacked, if I'm being honest with you. And you know why. And anybody, when they read it and then come back and rewatch this, they're going to suddenly click and understand. But I feel a little attacked and I don't appreciate it, but I loved it. It's such a fun, like it's a unique kill. And there's only so many ways somebody can be stabbed in the face, right? And this is a very fresh kill that feels very unique. And so, like, how when you're writing these like murder scenes, what is your brain going through to come up with putting the characters through what you're going to put them through?
With Lynn's kills, they're very intentional, and like the kill you're talking about is like, well, this is what he uses to amplify his voice, and this is what we're going to use to shut him up, type of deal.
Okay.
And so I think a lot on that. A lot of it is just like, what have I not seen before? You know?
Yeah.
Like, unfortunately, I'll be like at the grocery store or somewhere and be like, wow, what if someone died by that thing? You know, that would be gnarly. And so it's just something that's always on my mind, is like, not always on my mind, but if I'm writing something and I need kills, then it's
like you're always looking for ways to murder people. Maybe
yeah, pretty much.
Is your wife okay?
But it's just one of those things where I don't know, man. I have a friend named Misty, and she reads everything that I write before I put it out to the world, and she's just like, "You're the nicest, most sick person I know." Like, if I didn't know you, I'd be scared.
That's awesome. And so you only plan to like ramp things up from this first issue to get more and more brutal?
Yeah, for the most part, they do.
Awesome. I love it. And it's going to be, so you said this is the first of 4 issues that you have planned?
Yes.
Okay. For now, right? Because I know you mentioned like side stories. And so are these the 90 pages that you sent to Greg initially?
No, because the 90 pages I sent to him is the movie script.
Oh, got it. Okay.
So no, in fact, I have half of the second issue written. It's all mapped out, outlined or whatever. Sure. I have half of the second issue written. It's just
time, right?
Yeah, time and the fact that for some reason I just sat down and wrote 3 issues of Zara and Jean back to back to back to back, and but yeah, it's time, and it's also like I've found out things about the characters that I want to add since writing the first issue. I'm like, well, we could do that, like one of the characters in the book, like, I knew that they were gonna die. I just didn't really know how yet, and so since then, I have found an adequate death for them.
That's so nice of you.
Yeah.
Well, I just want to celebrate because I'm out of notes. So we'll do the two things, and then I want to come back and show our statuses of the end of this episode. So the first thing that I always like to do with guests is we're going to take a screenshot, which means you get to pose and we get to look however you want to look, and we'll do the thing, and that'll be used as our YouTube thumbnail. So let me get, all right, keyboard shortcut, 3, 2, 1. Great. All right. The other thing that I like to do is, we kind of touched on it earlier, but comics are always like a really good baseline of everybody that I have on the show. Obviously, like, it's a comic and music podcast. So I love hearing everybody's story and their influences and where they come from and what they're doing and what they're creating. And so the other thing that I like doing is just hearing from the creators that I have on the show. So if there's anything that you want people to hear watching this now, which thank you to the 12 people that have hung with us for the last hour and 16 minutes. Like, this is quite possibly my highest single viewed live stream ever.
Nice.
So thank you. I think it's because we made history by launching your campaign during.
Could be.
I'm going to say the history. It's the history piece.
I'm going to go update the History of America's Wikipedia page with this.
Please do. I wonder if the show has a Wikipedia page yet. Note to self. Wiki. Anyway, so I like to always, at the end of the show, with what the creators want people to hear from them. It could be about Murderface. It could be about why The Exorcist is better than Poltergeist. The content doesn't matter so much as I just want people to hear anything that you want them to hear. So the floor is yours. Take it away, my friend.
Well, what is first and foremost on my mind is that I am a 44-year-old grandfather who is taking my first foray into comics. And it is never too late to do what you want to do. It is never too late to do what you love. I worked in a factory for 20 years to make this happen. It wasn't fun. I didn't love it, but I'm doing things that I love now, and that's what you want to work towards. And so it's just never too late to do what you love. And second thing I want to say is that Lori Calcaterra has her Path of the Pale Rider Kickstarter up right now, and it is an amazing story. I've read the first 5 issues. It's great. Read it all in one sitting, and I think you should all check that out.
Path of the Pale Riders. Write that down.
It's a Western type story about if death broke. So things die, but they don't.
That's fun.
Yeah, it's really good.
That's a cool premise. I will definitely check that out. Speaking of Kickstarter, you're sitting at 7 backers. Look at that.
All right.
That's exciting. Let me refresh and make sure that that's the most up to date. Yep, 7 backers.
It goes to 0.
Ooh,
I was canceled while we were on the show.
Someone canceled their pledge. Ooh. No, this was so much fun. Thank you for having, this was all your idea. I don't want people to get the idea that I had this clever. This was not me. This is all Vaughan. So thank you for like trusting me to launch your show.
Yeah, dude, I wouldn't have done it anywhere else.
Like this, that means a lot to me. I appreciate you. Thank you for like always being in the comments on Instagram. I look for like every week. I'm like, yep, Vaughan was first. Like even my wife was like, who are you talking to tonight? I'm like, Vaughan, like the Instagram live guy. She was like, oh, him, yeah. So like, just know you've got some pals in Ohio. Thank you so much for hanging out with me. This was a total blast. I look forward to seeing Murderface fully hit its goal and even get into possibly stretch goals and unlock more and more of those stickers. This is a total blast. All right, so we've got Nicole who's gonna go pledge ASAP, so that's 8. And I
Thank
know
you,
Greg
Nicole. I want to say hi to Charlie, who I saw earlier too, and I didn't get a chance to say hi.
There you go.
None of my boys from work.
I know Greg said that he was going to back after the stream, so that's 9. So you basically got 50 backers because of this show. So you're welcome.
Yes, hell yeah. Thank you.
That's how that math works, right? So that is going to be it for this episode of Longbox Punk, all about this guy right here, Murderface from Vaughan Fox. Hang out. I got some logistics for you after the stream, but go do what's good for you, punks. This is my tagline because every good podcast has one. And go read some indie comics. We are out of here.